Welcome everybody, and well, welcome. So this is the Rough Air signing back in, and I thought of doing something different today. And what else but to do an audio book for you guys. So yeah, this is what I mean when I said I'm gonna try to find something to do. Can't say this is better, but I'm trying it out for you guys. So yeah, this is a book. I sadly couldn't find the actual book. Just give my my smooth buttery voice on there. But yeah, I found the actual book or the PDF here. So The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear, winner of a Newbery Medal. And before you guys ask, no, I have not read the book. So I guess, if you guys see me messing up or hesitating within a sentence, then, like I said, I haven't read. I read mentally, okay? I just read it by myself and all that other crap. But enough with the boring, right? And I thought of adding some background music for you guys. This is Mew, or Muji. He's one of my favorite guys to listen to while I read books, or just do anything really, even gaming. Funny enough. Alright, so enough with enough with this, and let's get this started, right? So, Chapter 1. On a morning in mid-April, 1687, the Braganite Dolphin left the open sea, sailed briskly across the Sound to the wide mouth of the Connecticut River and into Saybrook Harbor. Kit Tyler had been in the forecast deck since daybreak, standing close to the rail, staring hungrily at the first sight of land for 5 weeks. "There's Connecticut colony," a voice spoke in her ear. "You've come a long way to see it." She looked up and surprised and battered. On the whole long voyage, the captain's son had spoken scarcely a dozen words to her. She had noticed him often, his thin, weary figure swaying easily hand over up to the rigging, his sandy, sun-bleached head bent over a coil of rope. Nethiel Eden, first mate, but his mother called him Nat. Now seeing him so close beside her, she was surprised that, for all he looked so slight, the top of her head barely reached his shoulder. "How does it look to you?" he questioned. Kit hesitated. She didn't want to admit how disappointed she found this first glimpse of America. The bleak line of shore surrounding the gray harbor was disheartening contrast to the shimmering green and white that fringed the turquoise bay of Barbados, which was her home. The earthen wall of the fortification that faced the river was bare and ugly, and the houses beyond were no more than plain wooden boxes. "Is that Wethersfield?" she inquired instead. "Oh no, Wethersfield is some way up to the river. This is the port of Saybrook, home to us Edens. There's my father's shipyard just beyond the dock." She could just make out the row of unimpressed shacks and the bash of raw new lumber. Her smile was admiring from pure relief. At least this grim place was not her destination, and surely the colony at Westfield would prove more inviting. "We made good time this year," Nat went on. It's been a fair passage, hasn't it?" "Oh yes," she sparkled, "though I'm glad now 'tis over." "Aye," he agreed. "I never know myself which is best, the setting out or the coming back at harbor. Ever been on a ship before?" "Just the little Panions in the islands. I've sailed on those all my life." He nodded. "That's where you learn to keep your balance." So he had noticed. To her pride, she had to be a natural sailor. Certainly she had not spent the voyage groaning and retching like some of the passengers. "You're not afraid of the wind and the salt, anyway. At least you haven't spent much time below." "Not if I could help it," she laughed. Did he think anyone would stay in the stuffy cabin by choice? Would she ever had the courage to sail at all, had she known, before she booked passage, that the sugar and molasses in the hold had been paid for by a load of Connecticut horses, and that all the winds of the Atlantic could never blow the ship clean of that unbearable stench? "That's what I minded most about the storm," she added. "4 days shut away down there with the dead lights up." "Were you scared?" "Scared to death, especially when the ship stood tight on end and the water leaked under the cabin door. But now I wouldn't have missed it for anything. 'Twas the most exciting thing I never knew. his face lightened with admiration, but all for the ship. He's a stout one, the dolphin, she said. She's coming through many a worse blow than that. His eyes dwelt fondly on the top sails. What is happening? Kate asked, noting the sudden activity along the deck. Four husky sailors in blue jackets and bright kerchiefs had hurried forward the capstan bars. Captain Eden, in a good blue coat, was shouting orders and the quarterback. Are we stopping here? There are passengers to go ashore, Nat explained, and we need food and water for the trip upriver. But we've missed the tide and the wind is blowing too hard from the river. We're going to anchor out here and take the longboat into the shore. That means I better look to the oars. He swung away, moving lightly and confidently. There was a bounce in his step that matched the laughter in his eyes. With dismay, Kit saw the captain's wife among the passengers preparing to disembark. Must she say goodbye so soon to Mistress Eden? They had shared the bond of being the only two women on board the Dolphin, and the older woman had been sociable and kindly. Now catching Kit's eye, she came hurriedly along the deck. Are you leaving the ship, Mistress Eden? Kate greeted her wistfully. Aye, didn't I tell you I'd be leaving you at Saybrook? But don't look so sad, child. 'Tis not far to Western Field, and we'll be meeting again. But I thought the Dolphin was your home. In the winter time it is, when we sail at the West Indies. But I was born in Saybrook, and in the spring I got in the hankering for my house and garden. Besides, I never let on my husband, but the summer trips are tedious, just back and forth up and down the river. I stay at home and tend my vegetables and my spinning like a proper housewife. Then come November, and he sails for Barbados again. I'm ready enough to go with him. 'Tis a good life, and one of the best things about it is coming home in the springtime. She had glanced again at the forbidding shore. She could see nothing about it to put such a twinkle of anticipation in anyone's eye. Could there be some charm that was not visible from out here in the harbor? She spoke on a sudden impulse. Would there be a room in the boat for me to ride to shore with you? She begged. I know it's silly, but there is America so close to me for the first time in my life. I can't bear not to set my foot upon it. What a child you are, kid, smiled Mrs. Eden. Sometimes 'tis hard to believe you are 16, she applied to her husband. The captain scowled at the girl's reddened cheeks and shining eyes, and then shrugged consent. As Kit gathered her heavy skirts about her and clambered down the swinging rope ladder, the men in the longboat good naturally shoved their bundles closer to make room for her. Her spirits bobbed like the white steps in the harbor as the boat pulled away from the black hull of the Dolphin. As the pro scraped the landing piles, Nod leaped ashore and caught the hawser. He reached to help his mother, then stretched a sure hand to swing Kit over the boat's edge. With a bound, she was over the side and had set foot on America. She stood taking deep breaths of the salt, fish-tainted air, and looked about for someone to share her excitement. She was quite forgotten. A throng of men and boys on the wharf had nostalgically closed in on the three Edens, and she could hear a busy catching up for the most past month's news. I lost my place. The other passengers had hurried along the wharf to the dirt road beyond. Only three shabbily dressed women lingered near her. And because she could not contain her eagerness, Kit smiled and would have spoken, but she was abruptly repulsed by their sharply curious eyes. One hand moved guiltily to her tangled brown curls. She must look a sight. No gloves, no cover for her hair, and her face rough and red from the weeks of salt wind, but now all ill-mannered of them to stare so. She pulled up the hood for her scarlet cloak and turned away. Embarrassment was a new sensation for Kit. No one on the island had ever presumed to stare like that at Sir Francis Titus' granddaughter. To make matters worse, America was behaving strangely underfoot. As she stepped forward till the wharves tilted upward, and she felt curiously light-headed. Just in time, a hand grasped her elbow. Steady there, a voice warned. You haven't got your land legs yet. Nat's blue eyes laughed down at her. It will wear off in short time, his mother assured her. Catherine, dear, I do hate to let you go alone. You're sure your aunt will be waiting for you at Westfield? They say there's a good wife chuff going aboard, and I'll tell her to keep an eye on you. With a quick clasp of Kit's hands, she was gone, and Nat, shouldering her trunk in one easy motion, followed her along the narrow dirt road. Which one of the queer little box-like houses did they call home? Kid wondered. Getting thirsty, guys. She turned to watch the sailors stowing provisions into the longboat. She already regretted this impulsive trip ashore, ashore, ashore. I want to say ashore. There was no welcome for her at this chill Saybrook landing. She was grateful when it left, and she could come back in the longboat. Four new passengers were embarking for the trip on the river. A shabby, down-looking man and a wife and their scrawny little girl clutching a wooden toy and a tail. A regular young man with a pale, narrow face and shoulder-length fair hair under a wind-brimmed black hat. Captain Eden took his place aft without attempting any introduction. The men ready their oars, and Nathaniel coming back down the road on the run. Oh no! Okay, I'll find my place real quick, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, found my place. Captain Eden took his place aft without attempting any. Already their oars, then Nathaniel, coming back down the roads of the run, slipped the rope from the mooring as they pulled away from the wharf, leaped nimbly to his place with the crew. They were halfway across the harbor when a wail of anguish broke from the child. Before anyone could stop her, the little girl had flung herself to her knees and tittered gently over the edge of the boat. Her mother leaned forward, grasped the woolen jumper, and jerked her back, smacking her down with a sharp cuff. "Ma, the dolly's gone!" the child wailed. "The dolly Grandpa made for me." Kid could see the little wooden doll, its arms sticking stiffly in the air, bobbing helplessly in the water a few feet away. "Shame on you!" the woman scolded. "After the work he went to, that fuss for a toy, and then the minute you get one, throw it away. I was holding her up to see the ship. Please get her back, Ma, please. I'll never drop it again." The toy was drifting farther and farther from the boat, like a useless twig in the current. No one in the boat made a move or paid the slightest attention. Kid could not keep silent. "Turn back, Captain," she ordered impulsively. "'Twill be an easy thing to catch." The captain did not even glance in her direction. Kid was not used to being ignored, and her temper flared. When a thin whimper from the child was silenced by a vicious cuff, her anger boiled over. Without a second's deliberation, she acted. Kicking off her buckled shoes and dropping the woolen cloak, she plunged headlong over the side of the boat. The shock of cold, totally unexpected, almost knocked her senseless. As her head came to the surface, she could not catch her breath at all. But after a dazed second, she sighted the bobbing piece of wood and instantly struck out, not after it in the vigorous stroke that set her blood moving again. She had the doll in her hand before her numbed mind realizing there had been a second splash, and as she turned back, she saw that Nathaniel was in the water beside her, thrashing with a clumsily planned paddling motion. She could not help laughing as she passed him, and with a feeling of triumph, she beat him to the boat. The captain leaned to drag her back over the side, and Nathaniel scrambled in behind with her. Out any assistance. "Such water," she gasped. "I never dreamed water could be so cold." He shook back to her wet hair, her cheeks glowing, but her laughter died away at the sight of all their faces. Shocked and horror and unspeakable anger stared back at her. Even Nathaniel's young face was dark with rage. "You must be daft," the woman hissed. "To jump into the river and ruin those clothes?" Kid tossed her head. "Bother the clothes. That'll dry. Besides, I have plenty of others." "Then you might have a thought for somebody else," snapped Nat, slapping the water out of his dripping breeches. Breeches? Yeah, breeches. "These are the only clothes I have." Kid's eyes flashed. "Why did you jump in anyway? You needn't have bothered." "You can be sure I wouldn't have," he retorted. "Had I any idea you could swim?" Her eyes widened. "Swim?" she echoed scornfully. "Why, my grandmother taught me to swim as soon as I could walk." The others stared at her in suspicion, as though she had sprouted a tail and fins right before their eyes. What was the matter with these people? Not another word was uttered as the men pulled harder on their oars. A solid cloud of disapproval settled over the dripping girl. More chilling than the April breeze, her high spirits plunged. She had made herself ridiculous. Okay? Now, under the red cloak and clenched her teeth to keep them from chattering, water dripped off her matted hair and ran in the icy trickles down her neck. Then, glancing defiantly from one hostile face to another, Kit found a small measure of comfort. The young man in the black hat was looking at her gravely, and all at once his lips twisted in spite of himself. A smile filled his eyes with such warmth and sympathy that a lump rose in Kit's throat. She glanced away. Then she saw that the child, silently clutching her solid doll, was staring at her with a glaze of pure worship. 2 hours later, dressed in a fresh green silk. I gotta get some water. Kit was spreading the wet dress and the wooden cloak to dry on the sun-warmed planking of the deck when her glance was caught by the wide black hat, and she looked up to see the new passenger coming. toward her. If you will give me leave, she said, with stiff courtesy, removing the hat to reveal a high, fine forehead. I would like to introduce myself. I am John Holbrook, bound for Wethersfield, which I learn is your destination as well. He had not forgotten that comforting smile. I am Catherine Tyler. Oh, okay. She answered forthrightly. I am on the way to Withersfield to live with my aunt, Mistress Wood. Is Matthew Wood your uncle then? His name is well known along the river. Yes, but I have never seen him, nor my aunt either. I do not even know I do not even know very much about her. Just that she was my mother's sister back in England, and that she was very beautiful. The young man looked puzzled. I have never met your aunt, he said politely. I came to look for you now because I felt I should have your pardon for the way we all behaved toward you this morning. After all, it was only a kind thing you meant to do, to get the toy back for the child. 'Twas a very foolish thing, I realize now, she admitted. I am forever doing foolish things. Even so, I can't understand why you should make everyone so angry. He considered this gravely. You took us back, this is all. We were all sure you could have drowned before our eyes. It was astonishing to see you swimming. But you can't swim? He flushed. I cannot swim a stroke, nor could anyone else on that ship. I warrant except Nat, who was born on the water, where in England could they have taught you a thing like that? Not England, I was born in Barbados. Barbados, he stared. The heathen island in the West Indies? 'Tis no heathen island, 'tis as civilized as England, with a famous town and fine streets and shops. My grandfather was one of the first plantation owners with a grant from the king. You're not a Puritan then. Puritan? You mean a Roundhead, one of those traitors who murdered King Charles? A spark of protest flushed his mild grey eyes. He started to speak, though better of it, and asked gently, You are going to stay here in Connecticut. Under his serious gaze, Kit was suddenly uneasy. She had enough questioning. Do you live in Wethersfield yourself? She turned the tables. The young man shook his head. My home is in the same brook, and I am going to Westfield to study under the river Bulkley. In another year, I hope to be ready to start to take a church of my own. A clergyman, she might have guessed it. His very smile had a touch of solemnness. But even as she thought it, she was surprised by the humor that quirked his fine straight lips. I mistrust you will be surprised to the good people of Wethersfield. What will they make of you, I wonder? Kit stared. Had he guessed? There was no one who could possibly have told him. Yeah. She had kept her secret even from the captain's wife. Before she could ask what he meant, she was diverted by the sight of Nat Eden swinging along the deck in their direction. His thin clothing had dried on him, but the friendly grin of that morning had been replaced by an aloof and mocking smile that showed only too well that his morning ducking had not been forgotten. My father sent me to find you, Mistress Tyler. One couldn't have guessed by his tone that he had ever addressed her before. Since my mother has left the ship, he thinks it's best that you get he thinks it's best that you get at board. At board? Okay, with good wife Ruff and her family. Kid wrinkled up her nose. Ugh, she exclaimed. That sour face of hers will curdle my food. Nat laughed shortly. 'Tis certain she expects you will curdle hers, he answered. She has been insisting to my father that you are a witch. She says no respectable woman should keep afloat in the water like that. How dare she? Kid flaring, indignantly as much as his tone as the dread word he uttered so carelessly. Don't you know about the water trial? Nat's eyes severely taunted her. 'Tis a sure test. I've seen it myself. A true witch will always float. The innocent ones just sink like a stone. You see? Okay, wait. Give me a second. Guys. Okay, I'm back. Now, before we go any further, I have actually read on the witch files or such, or the witch trials. And yeah, that's how they really actually thought that people could do. No one really back in time really could swim as well as many others could. And for sure people didn't even know how to float, because when they got in the water, that's what I guess people thought they would sink like a stone of some sort. Those that floated would actually survive. Now, what others there were other ways they would do it as well. They would actually tie said witch or anyone that was considered a witch. They will throw them into the water and they will literally be I don't want to say chained, but tied to a chair. They said they will give them a minute or two and they will bring them up. If the person that was considered a witch drowned or actually died, they were never a witch and they were innocent. But should they survive, then they were a witch and they would, I guess, kill them or burn them alive. So either way you looked at it, you were really gonna die. So so back then in the witches' trials, the tis was not a good day for anyone that was curious or anything like that. All right, enough about my history lesson with you guys. Let's get back to the to here. He was obviously paying her back for the morning's humiliation, but she was surprised to see that John Holbrook was not at all amused. His solemn young face was even more grave than before. "That is not a thing to be laughed at," he said. "Is the woman serious now?" Nash shrugged. "She worked up quite a gale," he admitted, "but my father has smoothed her down. He knows Barbados, and he explained that the sea is always warm and even respectable people sometimes swim in it. All the time, Mistress Catherine, he added with a quizzical look. Now that you're in Connecticut, I'd advise you forget that you ever learned that. Don't date your kid, shut it. I wouldn't go near your freezing river again for the world." She had made them both laugh, but underneath her nonchalance, Kid felt uneasy. In spite of his mocking tone, Nat had unmistakably warned her, just as she knew that John Holbrook had been about to warn her. There was something strange about this country of America, something they all seemed to share and understand, and she did not. She was only partially reassured when John said, with another of those surprising flashes of gentle humor, "I shall sit with you at supper, if I may, just to make sure that no one's food gets curdled." And that's where I'm gonna have to end it. So yeah, I am actually enjoying the story. I'm actually enjoying the book itself. I'm enjoying Kit. She's actually quite. She reminds me of someone that I think would treat children as so. And yeah, I'm actually enjoying the story a lot, guys. But yeah, the story is great. I don't know. Like I was getting a little bored after the first story, and I really realized I haven't even started the music or the background music. But whatever. Anyway, I'm actually enjoying the story. The story is good. I'm loving our character here, known as Kit, and I guess she's some sort of uh I don't know, someone important. I know she could be one of maybe a princess or just of a higher rank. And I know that if you're a high rank, you're gonna have to be rich as well. Anyway, my nose is stuffy. Anyway, this is Rough here signing off. And before I do, how about you guys leave a like or a dislike, telling me if you guys like the game or not. Not like the game. I'm already missing my game. If you guys like the audiobook here, and if you guys like it, if you guys like how I'm reading, and you guys want more, please go ahead and leave a comment down below and telling me that you guys want more. Or and if you guys want, do you also want me to remove the music and just hear my voice, or do you want me to put music in the background as well? And if you guys like, go ahead and I guess send me a link to send music, and that's how I can play in the background, and maybe this will help me read better or anything. But yeah, so and I think, and by the way, I will be leaving a what's it called, a link down below. I will be leaving a link down below for the playlist of Muji, and then I'm going to be leaving a direct link to his channel directly. That's how you guys can go ahead and see them. And then I will be leaving a link to one of my, well, I guess my bestest of friends. They're wonderful. They're amazing. I love them to death. Probably hug them to death as well. I'll be leaving I'll be leaving their channel down below. So this is Rough here signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next video, or in the next chapter, I guess. Bye bye.